Leora Kane stepped off the sleek starliner and onto the shimmering platform that led to the Galactic Council's citadel, a colossal structure suspended in orbit above a dying star. The airlock hissed shut behind her, sealing away Earth's familiar blue skies for the cold, sterile corridors of alien diplomacy. As Earth's lead diplomat, she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders, a fragile peace treaty, years in the making, poised on the knife's edge of acceptance or annihilation. The Council was a place where words were weapons sharper than any blade, and trust was a currency long spent. Each member species wore their contempt for humanity like a badge of honor. They called humans unpredictable, violent, a threat to the galactic order. Leora knew the truth was far more complex, but here, perception was reality, and Earth was desperate. She adjusted the small insignia on her chest, the emblem of the Earth Alliance, as she moved through the Grand Hall. Towering banners from countless worlds hung in oppressive silence. The murmurs of diplomats in alien tongues filled the space, punctuated by the occasional sharp glance thrown her way. Eyes glimmered with thinly veiled suspicion, curiosity, or outright disdain. Diplomat. Kane, a voice crackled from her earpiece. It was Jax, her security chief, his tone taut with unease. We've detected unusual movement near the Council's central chamber. Something's off. Leora's heart tightened. She forced a calm mask, her footsteps steady as she entered the room where the summit would convene. The Council members sat in a semicircle, faces obscured by their species' natural masks, some insectile, some reptilian, others beyond human comprehension. Each seat held power and each mind schemed. The session opened with ceremonial greetings, but beneath the formalities simmered an electric tension. Leora presented Earth's terms, disarmament clauses, resource-sharing agreements, and mutual defense pacts. Her voice was steady, her words carefully chosen to bridge chasms of mistrust. But the Council was playing a different game. Midway through her speech, a sudden blackout plunged the chamber into darkness. The room erupted in chaos, alien voices shouting, weapons primed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long, sinister shadows. From the darkness emerged a cadre of masked figures, their armor black and unmarked. "Security breach," barked a Council official, but their words were swallowed by panic. Leora instinctively reached for the hidden stun pistol Jax had slipped into her belt. But before she could draw, a powerful shockwave rippled through the floor, knocking her off balance. The attackers moved fast, precision strikes designed to incapacitate without bloodshed, but the message was clear. No one was safe. In the chaos, a chilling voice boomed from the Council's central speaker system. Earth is guilty of crimes against the galaxy. This summit is adjourned. All representatives stand down. Earth will be held accountable. Leora's mind raced. The charges were fabrications, a pretext engineered by factions within the Council determined to crush Earth before its influence could grow. The peace treaty was a lie. She had walked into a trap. Jax's voice buzzed urgently in her ear. "Extraction team compromised. You're on your own. Get out, Leora." But escape wasn't an option yet. Not without answers. She ducked behind a massive pillar as the armed guards closed in, their weapons trained. Her diplomatic immunity was worthless here, stripped away in the blink of an eye. Humanity was now the enemy, and she was their most valuable captive. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her arm. It was a fellow human, Marcus, a covert operative embedded within the Council's security detail. "This way," he hissed, pulling her through hidden passages few diplomats knew existed. As they ran, Marcus whispered, "They've been planning this for months. The Council fears what humanity might become, not because we're dangerous, but because we're unpredictable. They want to control us, or destroy us." Leora's breath came in short gasps. The weight of betrayal settled over her like a suffocating fog. The diplomat who had hoped to build bridges was now a fugitive, hunted by those she once trusted. But somewhere deep inside, a fire ignited, not just for survival, but for justice. The Council had made a grave mistake. They had turned Earth's diplomat into a weapon forged in betrayal, and that weapon was about to fight back. Leora and Marcus slipped through the labyrinthine corridors of the Council citadel, every step echoing like a countdown to capture. The hidden passages, a web of forgotten maintenance tunnels and secret service routes, twisted and turned beneath the summit's glittering facade. Despite Marcus's knowledge, the city-sized station felt like a maze designed to trap prey, and Leora was the most valuable catch. "We need to get to the extraction point," Marcus whispered, checking his datapad, "but it's been compromised. Council loyalists control most of the docking bays now." Leora's mind raced. They had come to negotiate peace, not war. But now, the Council had declared Earth an enemy state. Diplomatic immunity was dead, replaced by an indictment of Earth's destruction. "Why target me?" she asked, her voice low but fierce. Marcus glanced at her. "Because you're more than a diplomat. You're the symbol of humanity's defiance, a threat to their agenda. If they break you, Earth falls without a fight." A sudden alarm blared, red lights flooding the tunnels. A squad of Council enforcers rounded the corner, energy rifles glowing ominously. Marcus shoved Leora behind a bulkhead just as bolts of blue plasma zipped past. "We're running out of time," Marcus growled, pulling her deeper into the shadows. They ducked into a service hatch, descending into the station's underbelly, the research and containment levels. The air grew cold and sterile, the hum of machinery omnipresent. Here, Leora glimpsed horrors beyond diplomacy, cages holding alien captives, weaponized bioweapons in containment tanks, and rows of strange devices that pulsed with eerie light. Suddenly, the hatch hissed shut behind them. The metallic clang echoed like a tomb sealing shut. "We've been trapped," Leora whispered, heart pounding. Marcus tapped a console, fingers flying. "The Council's taken over the entire citadel. This is no longer about diplomacy. It's a purge." Then, an announcement crackled through the station's comm system. "Leora Kane is hereby stripped of all diplomatic status and is considered a hostile combatant. Use lethal force. Capture or terminate on sight." Leora swallowed hard. The Council wasn't just hunting her. They intended to make an example. A soft whir echoed nearby, and a squad of augmented soldiers appeared, cybernetic limbs gleaming, eyes glowing red. They moved with mechanical precision, weapons raised. "Get ready," Marcus said, pulling a small pulse rifle from his pack. The ensuing firefight was brutal and desperate. Leora's training as a diplomat hadn't prepared her for this, but survival demanded every ounce of grit. She dodged a plasma blast that melted the wall behind her, returning fire with a stun grenade that sent one soldier crashing into a console. In the chaos, Marcus was hit, a searing pain in his side. He fell, but not before throwing a datapad toward Leora. "Take this, expose them." Leora caught the device, its encrypted files blinking urgently. With no time to hesitate, she dragged Marcus into a shadowed alcove and applied a tourniquet. His breathing was ragged but alive. "This isn't just a strike against Earth," Marcus gasped. "They're weaponizing prisoners, turning diplomats, soldiers, even civilians into living weapons. It's horrific." Leora's eyes narrowed. The Council's betrayal had a dark purpose: to create unstoppable soldiers from their enemies. She had to stop this, and fast, her datapad unlocked, revealing encrypted blueprints and audio logs. A voice echoed through the files, cold, calculating, and unmistakably familiar. It was Counselor Threx, the architect behind the Living Weapon program, describing the process of grafting alien nanotech into human subjects, rewriting DNA, enhancing strength, and weaponizing the mind. Leora's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a political purge. It was biological warfare at a personal level, and she was their prime test subject. Summoning every shred of resolve, Leora helped Marcus to his feet. "We need to get this data out. The galaxy has to know the truth." Marcus nodded weakly. "There's a resistance cell on the lower decks. They might help us." As they moved cautiously through dim corridors, a broadcast suddenly filled the station's speakers. Citizens of the galaxy, witness Earth's recklessness. Their diplomat is a traitor and a threat. This is the dawn of a new order. The Council will bring balance by any means necessary. Leora's heart hardened. The Council had turned the summit into a battlefield of lies and weapons. But in the depths of betrayal and fire, the spark of rebellion was alive. And Leora Kane, once Earth's hopeful diplomat, was now the galaxy's most dangerous fugitive. The cold, sterile light of the Council's hidden laboratory bathed Leora Kane as she was dragged through the corridors. Her hands were bound with restraints, humming faintly with energy dampeners, designed not just to hold her, but to suppress the fierce will inside. Every step echoed through the chamber like a death march. The transformation she had feared was beginning. The Council's chief scientist, a tall, angular figure named Vrak, stepped forward, his multi-jointed fingers tapping a data slate. You will become something beyond your fragile humanity, Ms. Kane, a weapon crafted to serve the Council's order. Resistance is ill-advised. Leora's eyes blazed with defiance. You can't break what you don't understand. Vrak's cold smile was unsettling. Oh, we understand perfectly. Humanity's unpredictability makes you dangerous. We intend to tame it. The chamber's doors sealed behind them with a hiss. Walls slid apart, revealing a massive assembly of alien machinery, mechanical arms dripping with silver nanites, glowing conduits of energy, and containment pods humming with alien lifeforms suspended in fluid. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptics and something metallic, almost alive. Leora was strapped onto a narrow operating table as Vrak's team began their work. Alien instruments pierced her skin, injecting swarms of microscopic machines that burrowed into her bloodstream. Her muscles twitched involuntarily as alien DNA sequences began to overwrite her own, reshaping her biology at a fundamental level. Pain exploded through her body, sharp and relentless, as if her very cells were fighting for control. Memories flooded her mind, childhood summers under Earth's sun, the faces of loved ones, moments of laughter and hope. She clung to these fragments like a lifeline, refusing to let them slip away. Vrak watched clinically. The nanites will enhance your strength, speed, and reflexes. Neural implants will synchronize with your brain, giving you command over energy manipulation and advanced combat protocols. Leora's breathing was ragged, but her eyes never wavered. You're making a mistake. Humanity fights back. Days blurred into nights, or what passed for them in the timeless vacuum of space. Each moment was a battle of wills between Leora's unyielding spirit and the invasive alien technology. The Council's scientists monitored her every response, adjusting the nanotech to increase efficiency. Slowly, the transformation revealed itself. Her skin shimmered with a faint iridescence, muscles coiled with unnatural power. Her senses sharpened. She could hear the faint hum of distant engines, see in low light, feel energy pulses coursing through the station's walls. But with power came new dangers. The implants whispered foreign commands, trying to override her mind. Nightmares invaded her sleep, twisted visions of destruction, of becoming a weapon without will or choice. Yet beneath it all, Leora's core remained intact. Her fierce pride in humanity, the unbreakable belief that survival meant more than obedience, kept the alien corruption at bay. One night, as she lay strapped to the table, a crackle sounded in her neural implants, a faint signal from an unknown source. It was weak, but unmistakable. A voice, fragmented yet urgent. Leora. Resistance. Fight. Hope surged through her veins. She wasn't alone. Using her newfound reflexes, she managed to send a subtle electrical pulse through the restraints, momentarily disrupting the dampeners. With a burst of strength, she broke free from the bindings and lunged at the console, smashing it to sparks. Alarms screamed through the chamber as the scientists scrambled in panic. Vrak's face twisted in fury, but Leora was already running, enhanced muscles propelling her through the labyrinthine corridors of the council ship. She was no longer just a diplomat. She was a living weapon, forged in betrayal and fire, and now she would use every ounce of her new power to bring the council to its knees. Leora's breath came in sharp bursts as she sprinted through the twisting corridors of the council warship, her newly enhanced body moving with unnatural speed and precision. Every muscle hummed with power, her senses alert to the faintest sound or movement. The cold steel walls blurred past her as alarms blared, warning of a breach. Behind her, the pounding footsteps of armed guards echoed relentlessly. The council's enforcers were relentless, augmented soldiers with cybernetic limbs and deadly plasma rifles. But Leora was something else now, a fusion of human will and alien technology, a living weapon born from their own betrayal. Rounding a corner, she ducked into a maintenance shaft, the narrow space barely wide enough for her. She pressed her palm against a hidden panel, activating a data uplink she had discovered earlier during her captivity. Her fingers danced across the interface, hacking into the ship's encrypted communication channels. She needed to send a message, to warn Earth and anyone who would listen, of the Council's true intentions. Her fingers froze on the final keystroke as a transmission burst onto the network, hijacking every channel in the Citadel. A recorded confession from Counselor Threx, the mastermind behind her transformation. Humanity's unpredictability threatens our order. Threx's voice rang cold and ruthless. This program will produce weapons beyond conventional control. Agents capable of enforcing our will across the galaxy. The diplomat Kane is our first success and our test subject. Her escape is unacceptable. All efforts must be redoubled. Durang. Broadcast was a death sentence. For the Council's secrecy, but also for Leora. Every enforcer in the Citadel would now hunt her relentlessly. The data uplink crackled. Her message was being transmitted to Earth's defense grid and allied systems throughout the galaxy. There was no turning back. Leora exhaled sharply and pushed onward, each step a defiance against her pursuers. Suddenly, the corridor ahead exploded in a burst of plasma fire. She dove behind a bulkhead as a squad of guards stormed forward, their weapons lighting the passage with deadly bursts. Leora's reflexes kicked in. Energy pulsing in her palms, she unleashed a blast that sent several soldiers crashing back. The living weapon was awakening. As she fought her way deeper into the ship, memories surged unbidden. Her first arrival at the Council, the cautious hope in her eyes. The veiled threats whispered in dark corridors. The cold betrayal when the Y summit turned to chaos. All of it fueled her fury. She reached the docking bay, but it was a war zone. Council cruisers swarmed, preparing to blockade any escape. Her extraction team was long gone, casualties in a battle she never agreed to fight. A voice crackled in her earpiece. Jax, miraculously alive. Leora, we're deploying a shuttle for you at Hangar 9. Get there fast. Without hesitation, Leora raced through the chaos, dodging falling debris and blasts of plasma. She encountered more Council enforcers, their augmented bodies relentless. But each attack only sharpened her resolve. She was no longer just a diplomat. She was a symbol of resistance. At the hangar, the shuttle's engines roared to life. Leora vaulted aboard just as Council troops closed in. The ramp sealed behind her and the ship shot into space, narrowly escaping the Citadel's deadly grip. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, Leora's eyes locked on the data console. The encrypted files she had stolen from the laboratory, evidence of the Council's biological weapon program, were now in her hands. The galaxy would know the truth, but the message wasn't just for allies. It was a warning. The Council was preparing for war. Earth was their target. Leora clenched her fists. They had turned her into a living weapon, but they had made a critical mistake. They had forged a warrior who would fight back with every ounce of human defiance. The war for humanity's survival had only just begun. The Earth Space Station's command deck buzzed with frantic energy as Leora Kane's shuttle touched down. Her arrival was no longer a diplomatic visit. It was a battle cry. News of her escape and the leaked Council broadcasts had ignited shockwaves through the political halls of Earth and its colonies. But unity was elusive. Earth's leaders gathered in tense, fractious sessions. Some argued for immediate retaliation, to strike back at the Council before their plans could unfold. Others urged caution, fearing a war they were ill-prepared to fight. The Council's betrayal had fractured humanity's leadership, and trust was a rare commodity. Leora strode into the War Council chamber, her presence commanding silence. She was no longer the diplomat they had sent. The transformation within her was visible, enhanced muscle tone, a faint iridescent sheen to her skin, and eyes that burned with relentless determination. "Listen to me," she said, voice steady but fierce. "The Council has declared war on Earth. They have turned our people into weapons, soldiers forced to obey their command. We cannot wait for their next strike. We must unite, or we will fall divided." Her words sparked murmurs, some nodding in agreement, others skeptical. General Hera, commander of Earth's defense forces, stepped forward. "The Council's fleets outnumber us. Their weapons outmatch ours. How can we hope to win?" Leora met his gaze. "Because they underestimate us. Humanity's strength isn't in our technology. It's in our unpredictability, our will to survive. We will fight smarter, harder, and with everything they never saw coming." Outside the Council chambers, news feeds showed devastated cities. Council strikes meant to intimidate and dismantle Earth's resistance. The people watched in horror but also in growing defiance. Leora moved quickly, rallying Earth's fractured factions, military commanders, intelligence operatives, and even rogue scientists who had long distrusted the government. She transformed diplomats into warriors, hackers into cyber spies, and civilians into a grassroots resistance that spread like wildfire. She convened secret meetings in underground bunkers, sharing the stolen Council files that detailed the biological weapon program. The revelations ignited fury and galvanized determination. Humanity had been betrayed, but it was not defeated. Leora's new abilities made her a symbol, a beacon for those desperate to fight back. She led training drills with enhanced agility and strength, inspiring soldiers who had never known hope in the face of overwhelming odds. One night, as she stood before a map of the galaxy in a dimly lit war room, Jax approached with grim news. "The Council is mobilizing a second wave of strikes, targeting our mining colonies and supply lines. They want to cripple us before we can organize." Leora's jaw clenched. "Then we strike first." She orchestrated a daring counterattack. Small surgical strikes against the Council's supply convoys and research outposts. Using guerrilla tactics and rapid strikes, humanity hit where it hurt the Council most, their reliance on control and predictable responses. The campaign was brutal but effective. Each victory, no matter how small, boosted morale across Earth and its colonies. But victory came with costs. Casualties mounted, and whispers of dissent grew among those who feared the war would consume them all. Late one evening, Leora stood alone on a rooftop overlooking a city still scarred by Council bombardment. The stars shimmered cold and distant, and the weight of command pressed heavily on her shoulders. A voice crackled in her ear. Marcus, her old ally and once covert operative. "They're still hunting you, Leora. And there are those within Earth who see you as a threat. You're not just fighting the Council anymore." She clenched her fists, feeling the alien nanites coursing beneath her skin. "Let them come. I will fight for Earth, for humanity, no matter the cost. Because humanity's strength was not in perfect armies or flawless machines. It was in their spirit, unbreakable, unyielding, and fiercely alive. And under Leora Kane's leadership, that spirit was awakening." The dim lights of Earth's underground command bunker flickered as Leora stood over the tactical map, eyes sharp and calculating. The Council's next wave of strikes loomed like a storm on the horizon, but the threat was no longer just from outside. The whispers Marcus had warned her about were growing louder. Fractures within Earth's own ranks threatened to unravel everything. "Traitors," Marcus muttered as he joined her by the map. "They've been leaking intel to the Council. We're compromised." Leora's jaw tightened. "We can't afford betrayal now. The Council's living weapon program means they can turn anyone against us. Friends, soldiers, even family. Her gaze hardened. The nanotech inside her thrummed with power, a constant reminder that she was no longer just human, but a bridge between Earth's past and its uncertain future. The night grew heavy with tension as Leora and Marcus sifted through intercepted communications and analyzed recent Council strikes. Each hit was too precise, too coordinated. Someone inside was feeding them data, and that someone had to be found. Deploy the counterintelligence units, Leora ordered. Track every lead, every whisper, but the deeper they dug, the more tangled the web became. Old allies turned suspicious. Once loyal officers hesitated under her gaze. Leora felt the weight of every doubt, every mistrust, as if the very fabric of humanity was fraying. One evening, a covert message reached her, an anonymous tip revealing a secret meeting of suspected traitors deep within the city's ruins. The Council had agents embedded in Earth's resistance, bent on dismantling it from within. Leora and Marcus moved swiftly, leading a strike team into the shadowed ruins. The air was thick with dust and the ghosts of past battles, every corner, a potential ambush. They found the meeting place, a hidden chamber beneath the crumbled remains of an old government building. Inside, a group of well-armed figures huddled around encrypted consoles preparing transmissions. The firefight was fierce. Leora's enhanced reflexes turned her into a whirlwind of destruction, energy blasts and close combat moves tearing through. The traitors. Marcus covered her flank, precise and deadly, but in the chaos one figure slipped away, a woman cloaked in Council technology, her eyes glowing with eerie red light. Leora caught her briefly, a living weapon like herself, but twisted by the Council's control. The chase led through ruined streets and collapsed tunnels. Leora's mind raced. This was no ordinary enemy, but a mirror of what she could become if she lost control. Finally, they cornered the woman in an abandoned warehouse. The living weapon's voice was cold and mechanical. "You cannot stop the Council's will, Kane. You are what they made you. Join us." Leora shook her head, defiance blazing in her eyes. "I am what I choose to be." The battle was brutal, a clash of augmented strength and willpower. Leora's body pulsed with alien power, but her heart fought to remain human. With a final surge, she disabled the Council operative's neural implants, freeing the woman from control. The woman collapsed, gasping, memories flooding back. "Thank you," she whispered. But the victory was bittersweet. The Council's reach was deeper than they imagined, and the threat from within was as deadly as the fleet outside Earth's atmosphere. Back in the bunker, Leora faced the harsh truth. The war was not just for Earth's survival. It was for the soul of humanity itself. Her reflection shimmered in a cracked monitor, human and alien, diplomat and weapon. The path ahead was perilous, but surrender was not an option, because humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the Council's nanotech or armies. It was their indomitable spirit. And Leora Kane was the embodiment of that spirit, forged in betrayal, rising as Earth's last hope. The stars outside the command bunker's reinforced windows were punctuated by streaks of light, the Council's warships descending like a deadly swarm. Earth's final bastion, the sprawling orbital defense platform, braced for the onslaught. The war had come home. Inside, Leora Kane stood among Earth's fractured defenders, her enhanced form a beacon of hope amid the tension. Her eyes flicked over the battle schematics projected mid-air, noting the weaknesses in the Council's assault formations. She was no longer just a diplomat or a weapon. She was a strategist, a leader forged in the crucible of betrayal. "Commander." "Kane?" General Hera's voice was grim. "We're outnumbered and outgunned. The Council's assault fleets are overwhelming our outer shields. We won't hold long if they breach the platform." Leora's jaw tightened. "Then we won't. Let them breach. Not while I'm standing." The Council had brought everything. Fleets bristling with energy cannons, living weapons like herself, and relentless cyborg soldiers. But Earth's defenders had something the Council lacked. Heart. The platform's crew prepared for the attack, Scrambling fighters locking down critical systems and readying orbital artillery, Leora moved through the command center, her presence electrifying the troops. She accessed the stolen Council data again, the biological weapon protocols, their vulnerabilities, and control systems. She shared it with Earth's scientists, who worked feverishly to develop countermeasures. As the first wave hit, the platform shuddered under the barrage. Explosions rippled through the outer defenses and alarms blared like war cries. Leora led a squadron of pilots in sleek interceptors, engaging Council fighters in dogfights that painted the void with trails of plasma and fire. Her reflexes were uncanny, a blur of movement that confounded even the enhanced Council pilots. On the ground, cybernetic soldiers attempted boarding actions, cutting through bulkhead defenses. Leora's enhanced strength made her a whirlwind of destruction, ripping through steel doors and crushing augmented foes with her bare hands. Her voice rang out, rallying defenders. For Earth, for humanity. Yet the tide was turning. The Council deployed new living weapons, twisted hybrids of alien and human DNA, engineered for terror. They tore through Earth's forces with terrifying efficiency. But Leora refused to yield. Using the neural interface in her implants, she hacked into the Council's control network, disrupting the coordination of the living weapons. For a brief moment, chaos erupted among the enemy ranks. Seizing the opportunity, Earth's forces launched a counter-offensive. Fighters swarmed Council ships targeting key command vessels while ground forces pushed back boarding parties. In the midst of battle, a transmission crackled through the comms. The voice of the freed woman Leora had saved, now part of the Resistance. Kane, the Council's central weapon facility on the moon is powering up. If it goes online, Earth's defenses will collapse. Leora's eyes narrowed. Then we end this tonight. Gathering an elite team, she led a daring strike on the moon's weapon facility, a sprawling fortress of alien tech and deadly traps. The fight was brutal. The Council's living weapons guarded the core with savage ferocity. Inside the facility, Leora faced Councillor Threx in a final confrontation. His eyes gleamed with cold arrogance as he mocked her transformation. "You are mine, Kane, a perfect weapon to enforce order." She stepped forward, voice unwavering. "I am mine, a warrior of Earth, free, because I choose to be." The battle was fierce, a clash of enhanced bodies and wills. Threx unleashed waves of energy and nanotech, but Leora's human spirit burned brighter. She shattered his control systems and incapacitated him, disabling the weapon facility's core. With a surge of power, the moon's fortress began to collapse. Leora and her team raced to escape pods just as the facility imploded behind them, a fiery testament to Earth's defiance. Back on the orbital platform, the Council's fleet was retreating, broken and battered. Earth had survived. Leora looked out at the stars, scarred but alive. The war was far from over. The Council would regroup, and the threat would return. But humanity had shown its strength, unpredictable, unyielding, and fiercely alive. Leora, Kane, once a diplomat turned living weapon, had become the symbol of that spirit, and the galaxy was watching,